Listen carefully, warrior. Most people think power is about controlling others' money, muscles, status, authority. Machiavelli would laugh at that. He knew that real power starts in one place only: your mind. Because once you become the kind of person who cannot be controlled, everyone else starts moving around you. Look at the world around you. The people running things aren't always the strongest, the nicest, or the loudest. The real rulers are the ones who can think 10 moves ahead while everyone else is still reacting to what just happened. In every era, the pattern is the same. Strength fades. Looks fade. Charm wears off. But strategy? That survives. The ones who rise are not the ones who feel the most. They're the ones who think the deepest. They don't follow every emotion. They don't chase every distraction. They don't drown in noise. They watch. They calculate. They adapt. And when the rest of the world panics, they pull the trigger. Machiavelli once wrote, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." He wasn't just talking about speed. He was talking about clarity. True intelligence isn't about having more information in your head. It's about acting faster because you see clearer. It's about thinking sharper while everyone else is fogged up by fear, comfort, or ego. Because here's the truth no one wants to hear. Intelligence is the only form of power that cannot be stolen, copied, or destroyed. You can lose money. You can lose status. You can lose people. But if your mind is trained, disciplined, and sharpened, no one can take that from you. You either build that kind of mind, or you live under those who did. And here's the brutal part. Your brain has been trained against you. From a young age, you were rewarded for comfort, not for clarity. You were trained to seek ease, not pressure, to chase distraction, not depth. You scroll endlessly. You argue about meaningless things. You flood your brain with junk, and then wonder why you feel weak, tired, and powerless. It's not that the universe hates you. It's that your mind stopped evolving while the game kept advancing. So ask yourself honestly, what would your life look like if your brain worked at 10x its current sharpness? If you could read people like open books? If you could predict outcomes before anyone else sees them coming? If you were so mentally solid that manipulation just slides off you? That's what I call cognitive edge conditioning. Not motivation, not hype. A system. A system that turns your mind into a weapon of strategy, discipline, and control. A way of thinking that makes you unshakable under pressure and unreadable in chaos. When your mind becomes stronger than your emotions, everything shifts. You stop reacting to life and you start directing it. You rise above manipulation. You rise above fear. You rise above the weak parts of yourself that used to sabotage you. Because at the end of the day, there is only one battlefield that truly matters: your mind. If you lose there, you lose everywhere. If you win there, no one can touch you. Before we go any further, I want you to lock in this identity. Drop this in the comments, not as a quote, but as a decision. My mind is my power. 1. Intelligence is the real power. Domination doesn't start with force. It starts with understanding. When your mind is sharper than your environment, you don't chase power, you attract it. People feel it when they speak to you. They feel it in how calm you are when others are collapsing. The truly intelligent don't need to shout to be heard. They don't win arguments by volume. They don't prove themselves with drama. They let precision, timing, and logic speak for them. Intelligence isn't just being smart. It's not trivia. It's not academic flexing. It's foresight. It's seeing through emotion, illusion, social performance, and into the actual structure of reality. When you understand how people think, what they fear, what they want, and how they're likely to react, you can move through any situation like a chess player walking through a room of pawns. Most people drain their energy trying to look powerful. The intelligent spend their energy scanning the room, reading the patterns, and quietly moving into the winning position. They know real power is silent. Real power doesn't beg. Real power doesn't broadcast. It observes. It calculates. It moves with intention. Because once you can predict, you can influence. Once you can anticipate, you can set the terms. You can control outcomes without ever looking like you're in control. Machiavelli once said that the only way to protect yourself from flattery is to make it clear that the truth does not offend you. He wasn't just talking about honesty. He was describing a different kind of mind. A mind that is immune to emotional manipulation. A strong mind doesn't need praise. It doesn't collapse under criticism. It doesn't need to be told it's special every 5 minutes just to function. It doesn't seek comfort. It seeks accuracy. And that makes it dangerous. The intelligent mind steps back from ego. It uses insults as data. It studies failure instead of hiding from it. It takes betrayal, pressure, and stress, and turns them into sharper focus. Where other people crumble under the weight of criticism, the intelligent person sharpens their edges. Every test, every mistake, every disappointment becomes information, pattern, leverage. This is why intelligence is feared. You can trick emotions. You can overwhelm people who feel too much. But you cannot deceive someone who has trained themselves to think deeply. When you build this kind of cognition, you stop being an easy target, not because you know everything, but because nothing truly surprises you anymore. Every move you make is intentional. Your silence has weight. People's reactions stop being random and start becoming predictable. That's what separates thinkers from followers. The intelligent move like shadows, quiet, fast, decisive. They understand timing, perception, and psychology. They can steer a conversation without dominating it. They can reduce conflict without backing down. They can grow influence without ever raising their voice. Intelligence creates leverage. Leverage creates freedom. Once your mind understands how people, systems, incentives, and environments really work, you stop just playing the game. You start designing it. And that's when life starts bending in your favor. Not because you manipulate others, but because you finally learn to master yourself. Intelligence is self-control. It's awareness. It's the discipline to pause when everyone else panics, to analyze when others lash out, and to act only when the timing is perfect. A sharp mind sees opportunity in tension and calm in chaos. It never hands the steering wheel to emotion, because emotion blinds and logic sees. That's why the intelligent can remain calm while everyone else burns. They train themselves to detach from fleeting feelings and focus on long-term consequences. They don't argue every insult. They don't react to every threat. They don't jump at every opportunity. The fool speaks to be heard. The intelligent speak to direct. The fool reacts to every threat. The intelligent design the threat. And when the intelligent finally move, it's not noise, it's strategy. Everything you do either strengthens or weakens your cognitive power. Every word, every choice, every emotional impulse. That's why you must protect your mind like a kingdom. Fortify it, feed it pressure, challenge it daily. Refuse the comfort that softens you. Because once you learn to think differently, you stop being treated like everyone else. Machiavelli said, "A man who wishes to act entirely up to his professions of virtue soon meets with what destroys him among so much that is evil." He wasn't saying you should be bad. He was saying you should be wise. Intelligence isn't about playing the saint. It's about surviving reality. And those who survive the longest are the ones who think the deepest. Drop this in the comments right now. My intelligence is my weapon. 2. Cognitive edge conditioning, the 6-phase system. This is the method that builds mental supremacy. Cognitive edge conditioning isn't hype. It's a structured system that increases your mental sharpness, strengthens your emotional discipline, and gives you the ability to predict, adapt, and dominate any environment. Let's break it down. Step 1. Create cognitive tension. Comfort kills brilliance. If you want a sharper mind, you must deliberately introduce pressure into your life. Not chaos pressure, a controlled tension that forces your brain to construct new pathways, learn faster, and think with ruthless clarity. Cognitive tension is not suffering for the sake of suffering. It's training. Your brain is like a muscle. Stress it with difficulty and it grows. Protect it from challenge and it weakens. Start by redesigning your daily environment so it demands more from you. Choose tasks that stretch your focus. Put yourself around people who intellectually challenge you. Read ideas that make you uncomfortable. Schedule short, intense periods of deep work with real consequences. This is not masochism. This is cognitive conditioning. You must chase problems that don't have easy answers. You must welcome small failures and temporary frustration because both are the signs of growth. Have conversations with people who expose your blind spots, not those who flatter you. Make small bets where the outcome depends on your judgment. Then study why you were right or wrong. Do not let your brain rot in predictability. Switch your routines. Take on puzzles that force rapid pattern recognition. Try tasks that feel awkward or difficult. Every one of these creates a micro-injury in your old mental patterns. And when the brain rebuilds, it rebuilds stronger. But tension without reflection is just noise. You must capture what you learn. Immediately. Write down the surprises. Notice emotional triggers. Track mistakes that repeat. Extract one tactical adjustment from every challenge. Your goal isn't to overwhelm yourself. Your goal is to evolve. Build rituals that simulate crisis. Cold exposure to sharpen breath and focus, meditation to train the mind to pause before reacting, timed problem solving to build faster decisions, social challenges that practice unshakable presence and unreadability. These are your drills, and they must be non-negotiable. As you increase tension, monitor your limits. Growth requires discomfort, not destruction. If you feel overwhelmed, reduce the volume but increase the precision. Fewer, sharper challenges are better than chaotic intensity. Over time, you develop something rare. The ability to stay clear while others crumble. When people panic, you think. When they hesitate, you act. That's leverage. Build a life that forces growth. Use every stressor as a teacher. Reject comfort that deadens perception. You're not training to survive mediocrity. You're training to outthink it. Machiavelli said, "Whosoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times." Drop this affirmation. I embrace resistance. Step 2. Master predictive thinking. Prediction is the currency of power. Those who can foresee people's moves before they happen always operate above the chaos. Prediction isn't magic. It's a skill. A trained ability to read patterns and convert uncertainty into probability. Start with human behavior. People repeat themselves far more than they realize. Observe reactions. Notice habits. Track emotional impulses. Record these patterns without judgment. Then imagine scenarios for how those patterns play out under stress, reward, conflict, or opportunity. A powerful mind doesn't wait for events. It gets ahead of them. Study your own choices as well. Which impulses sabotage you? Which assumptions mislead you? Which emotions distort your logic? Predictive thinking is inward just as much as outward. Your brain must practice running simulations. Imagine conversations before they happen. Predict objections before they arise. Plan responses before anyone opens their mouth. With practice, your mind begins to detect micro signals, tiny changes in tone, facial expression, hesitation clues that reveal intentions others completely miss. Expand this skill beyond people, systems, economies, social groups, routines, environments. Everything has patterns. Pay attention to tiny shifts. Those are early warnings of bigger changes. Create a ledger of your successes and failures, and refine your predictions from them. Every mistake becomes a data point, not a defeat. A mind trained in prediction is almost impossible to surprise. This is strategic foresight, the ability to position yourself so well that you barely need to fight. Machiavelli said, "Men judge more from appearances than reality. All have eyes, few have the gift of penetration." Drop this in the comments. I foresee every move. Step 3. Develop mental agility. Mental agility is what separates a rigid thinker from a strategic one. It's the difference between someone who collapses when the plan breaks and someone who adapts instantly and wins anyway. Mental agility means your mind can shift, pivot, and generate solutions without hesitation. It means you don't need comfort to feel in control. You can move through uncertainty without losing your center. To build agility, expose yourself to situations that force rapid evaluation. Complex problems with incomplete information, debates where your assumptions are challenged, tasks requiring attention to multiple variables at once. The agile mind doesn't cling to one answer. It doesn't fear being wrong. It thrives in ambiguity. Flexibility is not weakness. Flexibility is advantage. Rigid thinkers break. Agile thinkers bend, adjust, and overcome. Start practicing reframing. Every time you hit an obstacle, ask yourself, what is another angle I'm not seeing? What's the solution no one else would think of? Challenge default assumptions. Why does the situation have to be viewed in the expected way? What happens if you reverse the usual approach? Train your mind to hold multiple strategies simultaneously. When you do this long enough, your brain starts to automatically scan for alternatives before problems escalate. Mental agility is also emotional agility. You must detach from frustration, disappointment, attachment to a single plan, the ego that wants to be right. These emotions limit your adaptability. They trap you in one way of thinking. Agile thinkers don't cling to old methods. They switch gracefully when the situation demands it. Speed matters too. The faster your mind can evaluate, adjust, and decide, the fewer openings others have to manipulate you. Build this speed with timed decision-making drills, rapid-fire scenario rehearsals, exercises that force you to improvise under pressure. Observe the world's resistance to change. Most people freeze when things shift. Use their hesitation to your advantage. Blend creativity with logic. Creativity expands possibilities. Logic narrows them to what works. Together, they form the backbone of agility. When your thinking becomes fluid, you become incredibly hard to trap, deceive, or control. No one can corner you because you're not standing in one place. You become a moving target, precise, unpredictable, adaptive. Machiavelli wrote, "He who is prudent and lies in wait for an enemy who is not will be victorious." Drop this affirmation. My mind bends, never breaks. Step 4. Dominate through unpredictability. Predictability is weakness. If people can map you, they can control you. To dominate through unpredictability, you don't need to be chaotic. You need to be strategically unreadable. Start by disrupting your routines. Change your schedule. Switch your habits. Rotate your methods. Make it difficult for people to anticipate your patterns. Small inconsistencies create a fog around your behavior. That uncertainty forces others to hesitate. Hesitation gives you power. Next, change your communication style. Speak less. Reveal less. Let people guess your intentions. People fear what they cannot predict. They second guess. They overthink. They lose initiative. Unpredictability doesn't mean acting randomly. It means acting with purpose, but without visible pattern. Plant false leads in conversation. Allow people to assume one thing while you quietly prepare something else. Reveal stability when it benefits you. Then shift at the moment of maximum advantage. Your goal is to keep people reacting while you remain in the driver's seat. This applies socially too. Cultivate a subtle aura of mystery. Vary emotional responses. Remain calm when most people would explode. Withhold personal details. Shift tone and energy strategically. People can't manipulate what they can't read. Dominate through selective visibility. Sometimes be predictable to lower suspicion. Sometimes shift suddenly to break expectations. Timing is everything. Surprise is a weapon. In decision-making, reject predictable options. Train yourself to see alternative routes. Act in ways that disrupt assumptions without losing coherence. Unpredictability, when done right, generates confusion, hesitation, and caution in others. That hesitation becomes your edge. Over time, this creates an invisible armor. People stop trying to manipulate you because they can't anticipate you. Opponents lose confidence in their strategies because nothing they expect plays out. Machiavelli famously wrote, "A wise ruler ought never to keep faith when doing so is against his interests." Drop this affirmation. I am strategically unpredictable. Step 5. Harness emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the hidden engine behind influence. While others rely on force or charm, the truly powerful shape outcomes through emotional awareness. It starts with mastering yourself. Recognize your impulses the moment they appear: frustration, fear, desire. Don't let these feelings take over. Instead, treat them as signals. Information, indicators of what needs attention, then master the emotions of others. Observe. Tone, posture, timing, micro-expressions. These reveal motivations and insecurities people don't say out loud. When you can read these signals clearly, you gain a massive predictive advantage. Emotional mastery doesn't mean suppressing emotion. It means using it deliberately. Show warmth strategically. Display intensity when you need control. Use silence to create pressure. Project confidence even when you're uncertain. Humans rarely act purely on logic. Emotion shapes perception. Perception shapes decisions. So if you can read emotions and influence them, you control the game. Influence can be subtle. A nod at the right moment. A shift in expression. A pause that forces the other person to reveal more. These tiny moves can redirect conversations, calm conflict, or shape decisions without force. But emotional intelligence also requires resilience. You must become immune to provocation. Train yourself in uncomfortable conversations. Engage in debates that activate pressure. Enter social environments that test your ability to stay centered. Influence is strongest when it feels effortless to the person being influenced. Emotional intelligence becomes a weapon when paired with strategic thinking. Every emotional signal becomes data. Every response is intentional. This makes deception harder. This makes leadership easier. This makes manipulation nearly impossible. Machiavelli said, "He who becomes master of himself will be master of others." Drop this affirmation. I command my emotions. 3. Becoming the apex thinker. Becoming the apex thinker is not a title you earn. It's a state you enter. A level of mental evolution where your mind becomes the architect of your life. At this stage, you are no longer reacting to events. You are designing them. Most people live in constant reaction. They scramble, they panic, they negotiate from fear, insecurity, or confusion. But the apex thinker, they operate from a completely different dimension. Chaos becomes fuel. Pressure becomes clarity. Complexity becomes an advantage. The apex thinker is someone who observes without emotional attachment, predicts without hesitation, and moves without revealing intention. They operate like a strategist hidden in plain sight. Calculations running silently beneath every word, every gesture, every pause. But to reach this level, you must integrate every discipline so far. Cognitive tension, predictive mastery, mental agility, strategic unpredictability, emotional intelligence. These aren't separate skills. They compound. Each one multiplies the strength of the others until your mind becomes a complete system, an engine that runs with precision and purpose. When these elements combine, something rare happens. Decision-making becomes almost instantaneous. You stop second-guessing because your foresight covers every reasonable scenario. You act with confidence because you understand the field better than anyone around you. The apex thinker does not search for certainty. They create stability inside themselves and navigate uncertainty with control. Social interaction shift dramatically, too. What once felt stressful becomes an arena for influence. You start to guide conversations subtly through timing, energy, and presence. People open up more than they intended. They reveal their fears, desires, and motives without realizing it. Your calmness becomes a gravitational force, and because you understand emotional dynamics, logic, and human behavior, you begin shaping outcomes without forcing anything. It feels natural to others, but intentional to you. This is where you become unreadable, untouchable, unmanipulable. The apex thinker thrives under pressure. In fact, pressure sharpens them. Where others break, they refine. Where others get emotional, they get tactical. Where others freeze, they move with clarity. Fear loses its power. Manipulation loses its effect. Chaos loses its ability to control you. Why? Because your strength no longer depends on outside stability. It comes from disciplined cognition, a mind that has been trained, tested, and fortified. At this level, information becomes leverage. Knowledge turns into precision. Insight turns into strategy. When faced with complexity, you don't get overwhelmed. You map multiple futures at once. You see several possible outcomes and know exactly which move leads where. This is not being smart. This is engineered intelligence, sharpened through pressure, study, and intentional practice. Competitors sense your intelligence but cannot measure its depth. They sense your confidence but cannot understand its source. They sense your unpredictability but cannot prepare for it. Attempts to deceive you fail because you've already predicted the tactic. Attempts to intimidate you fail because emotional manipulation no longer works. Attempts to trap you fail because you see 3 moves ahead. At the apex level, your mind becomes an autonomous force. Every pause is calculated. Every reaction is controlled. Every decision is deliberate. You move through the world like someone who already knows the terrain. But reaching this state requires consistency. It requires embracing cognitive tension daily. It requires analyzing your thoughts, refining your patterns, and stretching your mental capacity. Machiavelli said, It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Fear, in his context, meant respect, a silent acknowledgement of strength and unpredictability. When you reach the apex level, people feel this, not because you're loud, but because you're clear, not because you dominate, but because you command presence without trying. This is your moment to decide whether you will stay in the cycle of reaction or step into the role of the strategist, the one who shapes outcomes instead of hoping for them, the one who thinks deeper, sees farther, and moves with intention. If you're ready for the final stage, the execution stage, let me know. Reaching the apex isn't about knowing more. It's about using what you know with precision. Intelligence that isn't applied becomes dead weight. Power that stays in your head never influences your reality. This final phase is about execution, turning every skill into daily behavior so your mind becomes your greatest weapon. Start with one rule. Choose one cognitive practice and apply it for 7 days. Don't overwhelm yourself trying to do everything at once. Pick the area where you're weakest. If you crumble under pressure, choose cognitive tension. If people catch you off guard, choose predictive thinking. If you get stuck in rigid patterns, choose mental agility. If others can read you, choose strategic unpredictability. If emotions control your reactions, choose emotional intelligence. Just one, applied relentlessly. This is how rewiring begins. For 7 days, push a boundary that feels uncomfortable. Train your brain to work harder than it wants to. Make clarity something you earn. Because your best thinking won't appear in comfort. It appears under pressure. As you apply the practice, you'll notice something shift. You become calmer. You respond smarter. You predict more accurately. People's motives become clearer. Your decisions become cleaner. This is your mind leveling up. Next, eliminate the 4 enemies of intelligence: distraction, comfort, excuses, emotional impulse. Distraction drains mental energy. Comfort weakens discipline. Excuses destroy momentum. Emotion clouds logic. Treat your focus like a weapon. Protect it fiercely. Remove low-quality input junk content, weak conversations, environments that dull your awareness. Every minute wasted is leverage surrendered. Your mind cannot sharpen in noise. Surround yourself with ideas that challenge you, people who force you to think, and environments that elevate your standards. Growth requires friction, not softness. Then, observe human behavior with the eye of a strategist. Watch what people say, but more importantly, what they avoid saying. Study their tone, posture, rhythms, emotional triggers. Every reaction is information. Every inconsistency is a clue. Every silence is a signal. This is how predictive intelligence becomes instinct. Keep a simple record of your decisions. Track what worked, what failed, and what you learned. Not for guilt, for evolution. Each insight becomes a micro-upgrade to your cognition. Over time, something powerful happens. You begin seeing the game before it unfolds. You sense intentions before they're expressed. You move with timing others can't match. Your presence becomes sharper, calmer, harder to manipulate. People feel this shift even if you never mention it. Your silence becomes heavier. Your decisions become respected. Your boundaries become unquestioned. When your mind becomes stronger than manipulation, faster than fear, and clearer than confusion, you become impossible to control. That is the purpose of this entire system. To build a mind that no one can bend. A mind that stands firm in uncertainty. A mind that shapes outcomes instead of being shaped by them. Now it's your turn to apply. Not tomorrow, not when life calms down. Right now. Use these tools in conversations, decisions, moments of pressure, and moments of silence. Make every day a training ground for mastery. Because when you win the battle inside your mind, every external battle becomes easier. Machiavelli said, "He who becomes master of himself will be master of others." Now make that your identity. Drop this final affirmation. My mind controls destiny.